welcome once again to the International Film Festival of India today on the 7th day. We sincerely hope that all the film lovers, the film fraternity, then the public who's come to view the films are having a lovely time as well as a productive time. I am Melinda Dias, and I represent the publicity wing of the Government of India. In this today's interaction with the press, I have with me Mr. Pierre Gill. He's a renowned cinematographer as well as a film and television director. Mr. Gill comes from Montreal in Canada and is closely associated with the cinema of Quebec. Through a very long career, Pierre Gill has collaborated with renowned film directors, some of them like Jean-Marc Vallée, Charles Bename, and Denis Villeneuve, working on many films. Some of these are like The Blacklist, The Art of War, and Upside Down. He has served as the second unit director of cinematography in the film Blade Runner 2049, once again directed by Villeneuve, which has won the Academy Award for Best Cinematography. As I said, he's also a director. He has directed several films, but he's also famous for directing several episodes of the television series Charles Jade, as well as the made-for-television cinema The Casino. You see, with such a body of cinematographic and directional work, it's no surprise that Mr. Pierre has been felicitated or awarded, honored by both the American as well as the Canadian societies of cinematography, as well as many international film festivals. He has been awarded the prestigious Kodak New Century Award for his outstanding contribution to the art of cinematography. He remains, as I feel, one of the most respected cinematographers today, though his heart is also in direction, creation, and editing. Welcome to you, sir. We are very proud and honored to have you here with us. Before I open the floor to the press, I would just like to say this, that yesterday you had a master class called Poetry in Motion, which attracted a house which was packed, not only with filmmakers and film lovers, but of course professionals, cinematographers. Now, a packed masterclass house can say two things. One, it can speak for your expertise. And no expertise can come if you have no passion for work. Number two, it also says about the thirst for learning from other professionals. Can you tell to this audience of ours about your work, about your passion, and what role does cinematography play in making a film, either good or bad? Please.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Do I need to have a mic? Oh, I have to press on this. There you go. You see, I'm a cinematographer, but I know sound. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the IFFI, ESG, and the government for inviting me here in India, a very warm, welcoming country. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure so far, and it will go on because every day is better. So yes, yesterday I had this master class. It was packed, and it was a beautiful big room. I hope and I think people enjoyed it. I had many good comments so far. What's your question?
My question is, like, what is the role that cinematography plays in a film?
Yes. And and all my passion about cinematography. Well, you know, I think to work in any art form, it's a privilege. To work in filmmaking and television or any type of those media is a real privilege. My passion comes from creating images, but it's mostly coming from storytelling. So I think that what excites me the most is when I read a good story, a good script, and this is the only time actually that my creativity comes out. And it's a question that it's difficult to ask because it's always very abstract, because art is abstract, and it's very even if it's like very precise what we do, we have to come up with our emotions, and our emotions comes from really things we feel from, like I say, from the story and the script, and different stories, or it can be action oriented or horror or sci-fi or whatever it is. Everybody has their own things they prefer, but for me it's really storytelling that is the most thing. So what it does to me, it makes me dream. You know, I read a script, like I close my eyes and I try to imagine. I don't try, I just imagine images as I read. And then once I finish reading, I'm trying to figure out how to bring these ideas into reality. And that's the really difficult part. Yeah.
Anybody in the media would like to ask a question?
Aye.
Monsieur Gill, you have worked with Denis Villeneuve and the recent project on Blade Runner. We would be very obliged if you could tell us about his style of working and what freedom do you have in such a science fiction project, and how much of the work is done during shooting, in planning, in anticipation for the special effects and other computer-generated stuff that is going to take place a little later.
Okay, a film like Blade Runner, of course, is a very big film, very complex. So the first thing that happens is that Denis worked with Roger Deakins, which is like one of the top cinematographers, for months doing storyboards, first of all. After that, they started to get, like I had yesterday in my masterclass, I was talking about concept art. So for films like this is exactly what you have to do. You have to draw. And again, this is also coming out from your head. You draw things and you imagine things. Then once you start liking these ideas, there was a long preparation of trying to put these ideas in reality again. So the VFX work was very planned. It was also Roger Deakins, as a cinematographer, is that likes to do as much in camera as possible. So there was little green screen, very little green screen. On my unit, because I did the second unit, which was a very big unit, but it's a bit separated in a way. On my unit, I had more green screen than he did, but he did a lot of big shots with visual effects. Except in his unit, there would be more rotoscopy. So instead of using green screen, he would use gray screen. So there's no spill of light, so the image is better, and he's right. Even now, if the CGI world is very, very amazing because of computers, it's very simple to do a lot of things, it's still, the image will still be nicer if you don't use a green screen. But that means you need a lot of people doing rotoscopy. So for people who doesn't know, it's like to cut out the actors frame by frame. So he's done a lot of that. Because also he was using smoke. So, and smoke is important because again, and it's something I always have big discussion with the VFX people, because when we use smoke, well, you do have smoke between the camera and the character. So it creates an ambience. On green screen, they ask you, don't put smoke because they want this to be clean. So it means there's nothing here. And then they say, it's okay, we're going to put it in post. It's fake smoke. It's not the same. So the way he worked is the better way, because he has a real image. And like I say, more work for post-production. On my side, I did a lot of stunts, explosion, the ship flying, underwater sequences. So a lot of things that is very, very long to do for a first unit, and it's very, that's why we have second unit, and you know about this, but, and it was pretty big, so it's pretty fun. It was very fun, actually. Because you end up, also you end up playing with like very high-tech equipment, and so I call them toys, you know, because of course it's your dream. When you're young, you shoot films and you want to have this big crane or this flying shot, and but we ended up having it. It's also nice because now with technology there's drones, and we even use drones that are strong enough, capable of holding Arri Alexa with a master prime lens. So this is very heavy equipment. So it's amazing because we're at a point, you know, I didn't know a few years ago I was going to be able to finally do shots flying that simple, because it used to be very complicated. We also used some cable cams to do flying shots because it's more precise, but that's very, 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 very expensive. It's crazy. Now, my relation, I don't know if I answer your question properly, but my relation also with Denis Villeneuve, I know him because I shot Polytechnique with him. We're very, very close. It was a very difficult film to do because it's a film about a guy shooting people in a school. It's a real story. It's a bad story. It's very sad that we do story about that. It should not exist, but that's the reality. Very sad. So it was such a difficult film to make for what was the subject. We had a really, really powerful relationship of like trying to find the right language with the lenses, you know. So, of course, when Denis went on and on with his career, he was like with Hollywood, and he worked with the top DPs, and which is great. And he asked me to come in because he trusts me completely, and he said, I'd like you to come in and be the second unit because I don't want to think about that. Denis is not like a director, he's an actor director, he's a story director, so he's not thrilled about just like VFX shots and stuff like that. He likes it, but it's not his thing. So I came in and I was his wingman in a way, because I was in a separate unit, and our relation was pretty nice because I would go see him on first unit set, ask him a few questions. Hey, we're gonna do this. What do you think? He was like, nah. I said, because this could be a problem. Oh, you're right. Okay, do it this way. I trust you 100%. So I stayed with him like this. We talk very quickly because we relate fast, and then I would go back to my unit and make it happen. And Denis is a really amazing, lovely man, really amazing guy. It's like just a dream to work with him because he's calm. He doesn't yell at people. He's respectful to the crew. He's always smile. He's very, very concentrated, so he's in his bubble. And he's a guy of wisdom, you know. He's like he's a thinker, so it's quite nice because you talk to him, and he just squints his eyes, and then he answers 5 minutes later, and like, yeah, this is good, or no, let's not do that. I mean, on Blade Runner, of course, it was very stressful also for him, even if he's a calm guy, and he looked very calm, but inside him there was a lot of stress because you know, to have the task of doing a sequel from a classic movie. When he told me like 1 year before or more, he said, we heard about Blade Runner, and I went to have lunch with him. I said, are you seriously, is this true that maybe you're going to do Blade Runner? And he was like, yeah, maybe. I'm like, you're crazy, you want to do Blade Runner? But everybody wants to do it. But at the same time, it's a poison gift, because it's like, oof.
So the film has won the Academy Award for Best Cinematography. That means there was a big gel between the first unit and the second unit. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got the award. I believe, yeah.
Well, you know, yeah.
Please, yeah.
Well, no. I mean, because when there was the Oscar, of course, it's Roger Deakins who won the award. But I was like, oh, I won a little piece of the foot. So I have a little feet of the Oscar, and then also the VFX won the award. And I work really closely with all of them, because, of course, on second unit, I was always with the VFX people. So then I was like, oh, I just won the hands. So I got 2 pieces of an Oscar, and we'll see if I can get more eventually.
I hope so, yes. Yeah. Any other questions?
So you need to shoot differently for different genre of films. Can you just elaborate on that?
So, yeah, sorry?
You need to shoot differently for different genres of films. For example, horror film, you need to shoot differently. Thriller, you need to shoot differently. Or a family drama, you need to shoot differently. Can you just elaborate on that, your experiences on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. But first of all, some people, they have some cinematographers and directors or production designers, they're always doing the same genre. Me, I don't like to do the same genre. I really like to do everything. I think that's really good. And I embrace that. So of course, the approach is different. But it's also, the only thing is for you to, it's the knowledge, because everybody's seen some different movie. You see some romantic comedy, you see some action films. So at one point, you know the different style. So after, it's just for me to embrace it and then try to find my little tweak on it. But it's more fun because, you know, if you do, for example, when you do romantic comedy, for example, the lighting, if I talk about light, has to be always a bit brighter. It has to be nice. The woman is beautiful. So it's always the same style. So for me, it gets really boring because I like when I can change. I've done a lot of period pieces in my career. I don't know why. It's the stars put me down to do a lot of period pieces. I've done like from the beginning of the Bible to the war and the everything. So the 1400 and 1200 and 1950 and. This is very fun to do, of course, because what's happening when you do this, and you work with usually beautiful costume designs and sets and a bigger crowd, and you learn a lot by doing that, because you have like it's technically more complex, but. Just, yes, if I answer your question, it's more, I like to be able to work in many different aspects. If it's a variation and it keeps me healthy.
But which genre is more challenging? As a cinematographer, for you, which genre is
more challenging? It's the most challenging, usually, it's a film like Polytechnique. It's a real story. It's a very hard drama. When you have stories that are very, it's a human drama about something that happened, and I mean like this one that was a shooter in a school. It could be a girl that was raped and that was, you know, so, and you want it to be real and true and strong. This is the hardest thing, because you cannot work with putting icing on the cake, if I can say, because in filmmaking it's easy to go like bling bling by putting beautiful light, a lot of a big dolly shot. That's what Hollywood does a lot, because when you go see those big movies, they are entertaining. It's like going to a roller coaster ride. And sometimes it's very good, you know, but if you look at the story, it's like very ordinary, but they do a lot of flip and flop. So it's technically difficult to do these films, but it's much, much more difficult to do a human drama that is trying to get the emotion, so the audience is really getting into. Because you don't have, like I say, you cannot put sparkles. So that's the hardest.
Any other question? I would like to ask a question connected to what we were discussing now. Yesterday in your master class, you said that the primary task of cinematography is to direct the visual path. In other words, it is the cinematographer who actually tells the audience what to look at. And that, to a large extent, decides the quality of the film. So actually the cinematographer plays a very important role. Can you just elaborate?
But you know, cinematographer is a very, very, very important role. I mean, now it feels, you know, it's a bit less because everybody can take a camera and shoot. That's not true. They take a camera and shoot because the cameras are able to do nice image by just turning them on. But that's not cinematography. That's capturing images. Now, it's very, very, it's a big job. And I mean, it goes where my job is to also look at the scene, of course, with the director. And like I said yesterday, some directors, they're just actor-oriented. Some are more visual. Some are extremely visual. So if the director, it's more actor-oriented, says, okay, they're walking here, and she stops, and she's going to look at him. But my job is to make sure that the audience, even with all, let's say there's all the extras and everything around, and it's busy, you have to go focus right away at the good place. So my job is to do dynamics with the lighting, but with also, like I was talking, the wardrobe. So I have a big discussion with wardrobe, with the assistant director. So we don't put behind the main actress that she's going to go through the crowd and she's going to come and she has to look at the man. Well, we're not going to put another girl that has blonde hair, and we don't put a girl with blonde hair. So this, I see that all the time. And I say, okay, this girl in the background, the extra, put her here. Don't mix them. So it's these details. Or she's wearing, you know, like orange scarf. You don't put another person with an orange scarf or an orange dress not far from it. So these are details that you take care of. So it goes beyond lighting, because people think we're just doing lighting, but we're not. We're bringing the audience to follow the story properly at the right place.
Yes, guiding the attention of the audience.
Yes.
Effectively, it means that you are working in sync with the context or the content, with the story as such. You are
absolutely.
Effectively, you have to work in the context, because, as you said yesterday, a beautiful picture out of context means nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It means nothing, and that's why it's filmmaking is fun for that, because you start from a script. And when I'm on set and we shoot, I'm always, you know, I'm not looking at the script. I know the story, but I'm looking at the scene that we're doing. And sometimes I challenge the director also, which is good. That's what they want. I'm like, you know, we don't have much time. We're going to be stuck. The sun's going to go down, or the schedule is too tight. And the scene is about this guy, you know, finding out, you know, that he lost his wife. So all this is not important. So can we change your 5 shots? Can we do it differently? And then we have time to do this properly. So yes, I'm also working always to try to also make the reality, because it's film, it's money, it's a business. You have so much time and you have to achieve it. So it's not just like a party and bar open. You have to really be very, very strict. And that's why I say every time on the day, I look at the day, I'm like, okay, this scene is not important, this is important, this is important. So I will talk with the director and assistant director and say, hey, you put 4 hours for that, can we just do it in 2.5 hours, and then we can put 4 hours for this one. So yeah, that's what we do also.
Pierre, one of the most important decisions that you have to take before every shot would be, what is the point of view? Is it the character's point of view, or is it the director, cinematographer, the omnipresent person's point of view, who's a silent observer of the proceedings? This must be very challenging. How do you usually narrow it down to reflect a particular person's point of view or an omnipresent point of view?
It's a very good question. It's first of all, it can be the audience point of view, or the actor point of view. And this is I cannot answer that. But what I can tell you is that it starts from how the director vision his movie first. And like I say, some directors have a very more visual idea. Some, like I say, they don't. So when they don't, it's okay. I make it with them, and we say at one point, I'm like, nah, we should stay far, because we want to observe what's happening. We don't want to be close to them, because it's better if the audience is making their decision about, is it good or is it bad? So so that's very fine detail, but these details make a great film. Sorry, sometimes the director will tell you we're in his point of view, we're in his point of view. So we kind of follow the film in a way that we always reminding, okay, we're not in his point of view anymore. So this shot is not working. And a point of view doesn't mean a camera looking like this, like you think a point of view is like being with the actor, so it means usually you're close to your actor and you see stuff a bit further out. Then you feel you're in his point of view. But it's a good question.
Thank you.
That means editing plays a big part here.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other question from the audience, please?
What advice will you give to the newcomers who intend to join this profession?
What
Advice.
The newcomers who intend to join this profession, want to become a cinematographer.
Okay, well, for the young people who wants to be cinematographer, first of all, I will tell them you have to be very strong. You have to know that it's going to be a very difficult life, because the life on film sets is very intense. The life of cinematographer is, I call it by the second. So when you start your day, it's like tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, tack. You work all those seconds for all day and very intensively. You don't have a break. So you have to be ready for that. Then your life is complex because you're going to travel a lot. I would tell them also, don't think about the money. Don't do this job for money. Money will come if you're good. I have some young people that come and ask me to do some comment est-ce qu'on dit ça, des stages. They want to, internships. So I have very often young people write me, oh, can I do an internship and all that. And when I meet people who's like, but how much do you make? And I'm like, okay, get out. Go away. Because if you think about this, you'll never get anywhere. So, but because it is a reality, because a cinematographer makes good money also. And some people, they will want to become cinematographer for the wrong reason. So you don't think about the money. You have to be ready to work hard. You have to also be a very good psychologist, because you have a lot of departments with you. So your machine is big, because you're in charge of all the electrician, all the grips, all the camera department. And then also you have all the questions non-stop from the AD, from the costume, from the makeup, from the sets non-stop. So you have to be able to answer. And you have to be humble. If you don't know the answer, just say you don't know. And let this person do it, because there's a lot of talent on a film set. So don't have too much of a big ego. And be very, very ready to be good to work with film crews. And because you start from a small movie, you have like 3 departments, so you're going to have at least 12 people with you. But on Blade Runner, it was 150. And you work also with foreign countries. So you cannot, you know, like when I work in Budapest, or if I come in India, I'm not coming here like the American or the Canadian saying, hey, I don't know, no. You don't do that. So when you travel, you meet different cultures, and you have to also understand that they think differently, they're going to work differently. So you have to be very open-minded. You have to be calm, and then you have to be ready to have a complicated life with your wife and kids. If you have this, it's going to be very complex. And good luck.
Any other questions? Anybody else? Yeah.
I was working for Indian production houses.
For what, sorry?
Indian production houses.
No, and I hope I can work soon in India, honestly. I had many times I was supposed to come and shoot here, and it happened that, sorry, we went to South Africa or Budapest or Morocco or China and all this. So it's filmmaking, because you start, a project starts, and then, whoop, it stops for 2 months, and then, whoop, it changes places. So, no, I didn't have the privilege to shoot here yet. I will one day, I'm sure.
What, is this your first visit?
Yes, it's my first visit.
First visit to India.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Which you have seen and which you have liked from the point of view of cinematography?
Oh boy, that's a good question. No, but attends, because I have to remember the name. No, I'm gonna have to check on my IMDb because I forgot the name. There's a. I cannot answer that right now. It's and with the jet lag, names is difficult at the moment for me. Trust me.
Any other questions, please?
But one thing about some Indian cinema that I see, it's extremely. I'm very amazed sometimes how technically complex it is, and it's amazing. And I was just telling my friends before I left Canada, I said, I think it was a music video I saw on the internet, but I was like, did you see that? It's crazy. It's like technically so complicated. I was like, I don't know how they did that. And it was an Indian production. So I know that there's a lot of skills here for sure.
Does the whole lot of technology that is coming into photography, does it really help enhance the skills of the cinematographer, or does it compromise on that?
I know. I think technology is like it's like you know, like when the iPhone came in, it was the biggest revolution ever. It personally makes my life so much easier. But at the same time, it's a disaster, because you see now people, they walk on the street like that. And they don't talk to you. They go to a restaurant and they have their phone. It's a disaster. So technology is like that. So in film, it's the same. So there's tools that I love it. I'm just so excited about it. And I see people that use it in a bad way. So I think any advance in technology for filmmaking is good, I think, because it's also technical. Film is technical, you know, it's not theater. It's like you need cameras, you need lights, you need all this. So, and now we have a lot of smaller cameras, like I was talking about the drones. And also, you know, what's very cool, it's that now there's like very high professional cameras, like Panasonic, they have a VariCam, it's a new camera, and you can shoot with 5,000 ISO, which means you shoot at night and you see everything. And I'm not talking about stills camera, which everybody knows you can take pictures at night. But that's not a picture. Where movie making, it's on a big screen, so you need more quality. And so this Panasonic camera is just outstanding, you know. And Sony also came up with the new Venice camera, and they have 2,500 ISO. For me, it changes my life completely. Yeah. Because there's sometimes I'm able to do a setup with very minimal light, but I still do my work. I'm not just turning on the camera and say, okay, we shoot. We do it sometimes, of course, because the project wants it.
I was there for your masterclass. Your impression about red camera was not very good.
No.
Nowadays in India, lot many people talk about that camera. So
because the red camera was the first real camera that killed the film. It's the first camera that came on the market that was wow. But it was not as good as film back then. And after they did different version. So what happened? And then the Arri Alexa came up, and the Arri Alexa just took over the whole market because it's German engineering and they always make it right. What can I say? And the way it captures it, the difference with the red is that you came back to a closer look to film, which is a softer image, more pleasing. And for me, I'm looking at the faces all the time because, you know, most, in general, you're shooting actors. Now, the red camera, honestly, I've tested them all the time, and I never liked them. Apparently, the last one, everybody tells me, no, you have to try it. It's completely different, but I didn't try it yet. But generally speaking, I'm not a big fan. And also, you know, there was this thing about, look, it's digital and it's that big. Okay, but when you do a movie, a professional production, but that camera at the end is big like that because you have to put so many accessories on it that it becomes just as big as any other bigger camera that has everything in it. Like an Arri Alexa is, you know, like that big. You put the lens, you put the matte box, you put your monitor, so it's like that. The red, well, you need to put rods to put the battery, you need to put the monitor, you need to put extension rod there to put the follow focus. So at the end, it's as heavy as any other camera. Now the Alexa came with the mini Alexa, so they can compete with them for work that you do with drones, Steadicam, or anytime you need a small camera. So no, I'm not a big fan because for me, the problem with the red was always that the way it captures, and like I said, that's the only thing we have left now is the chip that captures the image. Before we had different film stock, we had Fuji, Agfa, Kodak, and they all had different taste. And you could choose, this is your painting palette. Because when it's a painting palette, that's all you get. You go at the store and you buy this type of color, and then you mix it with a lens. Now, the only thing we have less is the lens and the chip. And the way this chip is capturing for me is too hard for the faces, and it's a problem. And that's why I don't own any equipment, I don't buy any equipment, because I'm gonna read a script, and if it needs to be an Alexa, it will be an Alexa. My last movie I shot was a Sony Venice with like Scorpio anamorphic lenses. So this is the mix. So the chip is like very important.
Does that mean that the face of the character decides what is the type of the camera you use?
No, because the actors, you know, they don't know about that usually. But some actors that work a lot, they start to know, are you shooting on red? Oh my God, I'm gonna look 45 years old. And for a woman, it's very bad because it makes, you know, like...
exterior especially, which is the best format, camera?
Okay.
Exterior.
Well, exterior, so the thing is that that's a big fight because film is the best for exterior. When digital came up, The biggest problem was exterior. Anything interior, anything dark, anything moody, pretty good. And actually really, really good. And some movies, I would say, I don't want to shoot on film. I want to shoot digital. When you go outside, it's very difficult. And that's the biggest problem. But even the Alexa is okay, you know. So at this point, but the problem with exterior, I'll tell you what, is that it becomes frustrating because the only way to make really good exterior with digital, I'm talking really good, I know it's nice, you know, but I'm talking really good, is that you really have to control the light. Yeah. So you have to be, no, the sun is too sidey. The sun has to be back, or it's too cloudy for this, it's going to look like. And even my last movie, I was outside and was frustrated with this beautiful Venice and camera and all that. And it's a battle. And you cannot, the only way to do good exterior is to be very lucky and have the perfect weather. Because honestly, if you're not at the right place, it can look just video-ish. I think the Sony Venice, the last one, it's a new camera from Sony. Venice. It's brand new. It's a new chip. That's why. Because Sony, the F55, it looks very... I've used it on Casanova. It's great, but outside, it's not good. The new Venice, it's not bad at all. The Alexa is good also. But I've never been very, very, very happy unless it's like a perfect like sunset with the backlight and all this. But if it's a normal day with clouds and it's a bit gray, oof, it's difficult. You have to use filters, you have to, and post-production after you do in post, you try to make it work better.
Any other questions? If there are no questions, we'll wind this up. So thank you, Mr. Pierre. It was a great pleasure and our honor to have you here with us. Thank you very much for spending time with our media. And we can now have a photograph if possible.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, yes.